that looks great. Jambon persil, but let's make it pasta? Yeah, I think you want to learn how to make that, don't you? Oh, and those crispy frizzled leeks that you see in restaurants all over the world? Yeah, I'm going to show you how to make that too. Stick around. Let's get to it. So the first thing that I want to get started is my leek garnish. So it's pretty simple. I just make a cut where the light green turns to a little bit of darker green. And then I cut that piece in half, and I'm lucky here because it's just about perfect. I've got about 3.5 inches on each side, which is absolutely perfect. Then I take this piece right here and I cut that in half. And what I do is I just unfold this and I take the outer piece and I set the core aside. And I do the same thing with this piece. So it's kind of like a stack of 5 or 6 playing cards. And then I lay it down really flat and I take a really, really sharp knife. Well, let me make sure that knife is really sharp. And I take a really, really sharp knife. Oh, I have a little piece of a core in there that's getting in the way. And I lay these down and I make some really, really thin cuts. Now, when you want to turn something like this super crispy, traditionally what you do, and we have some really, really thin pieces there. Traditionally, what you want to do, I'm going to do the other one here, is you want to fry it twice. Once in cooler oil, like at 300 degrees to evaporate the moisture and soften the leek or the onion or the shallot or the potato. But the other way you could do it is just start it in cold oil. And as the oil comes up in temperature, it takes the food through that soft cook stage. And then by the time it gets up to 375, it's starting to brown. And I just repeat with the other side of that initial piece that I cut. I just take out the core. And again, I have those 6-7 sections of the leek, and I just cut that like so. So I have about 2.5 cups of vegetable oil in there. I'm going to put the leeks in, and I'm going to put this on a very low, well, not a very low, on a low burner, and gradually let it come up to about 375 degrees. I'm guessing that'll take about 20 to 25 minutes. I'll show you what it looks like while it's cooking. I want to cook the pasta too. Now, I like to use ditali, which are little tiny tubes. These are little rings from the supermarket. It was all they had. It's what you're most likely to encounter. But you can use little elbow macaroni. You can use little shells are great. Any kind of small pasta that's appropriate to serve with a pea, because I like them to be small in size so that it sits right on the plate, especially for this recipe. Now, for the ham, you can take deli ham like this. This is just conventional deli ham from the supermarket, and just ask them to cut it about 1/4 inch thick. You're gonna want about, 8 to 12 ounces for this, and you would just cut it in strips and then cut it into tiny little cubes. If you happen to like aged hams, European hams, American naturally cured hams, all you have to do is cut it into those 1/4 inch slices and then cut it into dice. Mine is smaller than a pea because I want it to be nice and soft. So I'm gonna use this beautiful cured country ham. Gotta cut our parsley. This is a medium-sized bunch. I'm just gonna roll this up and just start cutting. You don't need to annihilate it, but for this recipe, yeah, I do want it minced. I don't want any big leaves in there. So I have my parsley in the bowl. I'm gonna add my country ham. Let's slice up some scallions. Again, I'm gonna cut them thin. And I want, I don't know, most of that bunch there. And I like mostly green, so it's a softer flavor. And I'm gonna put that in my bowl. You can see here, the leeks are starting to cook in that oil. The more I stir it, the more I release water from the leeks. That's what that bubbling is. The bubbling is not the leeks frying. The bubbling is the water coming out of them. Maybe a little hard to tell here, but it's actually quieted down. And in a very short amount of time, you can see when I stir it, I don't get more bubbles per se. It's basically the same amount. It's starting to lose its water. Once the water is gone, the leeks will start to brown. And the reason for that is simple. You can't brown anything in the presence of water. It just doesn't work. Now you can see the leeks in the pot are getting really quiet. These are gonna start browning pretty darn soon. Well, turning golden and then browning. And as you can see here, as it's getting really quiet, it's actually browning. You can see that light browning on there. We're just gonna let that get nice and crispy, but this is how you make those little threads that chefs love to use in their restaurants. And you can use this technique with lots. It's easier with leeks to use the cold oil method. Onions and shallots tend to sink to the bottom, and with those I use the two-step frying methodology. But fried leeks like this are so great for garnishing fish and seafood. Just stunning. And I'm gonna let you see some more of this color transformation. You really wanna make sure there's no softness left inside there. You also don't wanna burn them. There we go, we're almost there, maybe another 10 seconds. Look at how beautiful that is. Those are some really nice leeks. They're gonna be great with this dish. Water is boiling. I'm gonna add my rings. And just like any other type of pasta, the most important move you make with it is stirring it right after it goes in. Get some of that surface starch out, prevent sticking on the bottom, and don't walk away from it. Watch it as it comes back to a boil. Cook our pasta. I'm gonna drain it over the half-thawed peas. And that boiling pasta water will defrost the rest of it. So, the pasta's nice and tender. The half-frozen peas are in there. So I just throw those wonderful pieces of cooked pasta on top. And I happen to have very cold water that comes out of my faucet. And so all you want to do is hydrate this with cold water. These little shells cool down, little rings cool down super fast. I mean, this is already cold. All right, let's make our mayonnaise. I have, well, it's our sauce for this pasta dish. I have 2 small shallots, and I'm just gonna coarsely chop those and place them into this 4-cup measure. I love the taste of shallots in here. We're gonna add a whole mess of tarragon as well. These are just the leaves. I'm gonna add a little bit of lemon juice. You need a little bit of acid to start that emulsion going, not a lot. I'm gonna add, I don't know, about half a teaspoon, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon of mustard. Then I'm gonna add a couple of egg yolks. Oh, these ones look small, which is nice, because I'm not making a lot. And you don't need a lot of egg yolk. You do for something like hollandaise, but for something like this, 2 is gonna be absolutely just perfect. And I'm just using the blade of my immersion wand to chop this up a little bit before I add my oil. I forgot to add a couple of anchovies. Now, no one in your family, trust me on this, is going to taste any of these anchovies. And the reason is we're just gonna add 2 or 3. And what it does is it just provides a little salty piquancy to this. And then laying this flat on the bottom, which is why I sort of chop it up first. I add a little drizzle of oil just to build up a little more volume in the bottom of my measure, which helps me puree those other goodies. And then I just add in a thin stream down the side, resting my oil container on the lip of the measure so that I can move my immersion wand with my other hand. I just want to make a nice emulsification here. And if you've watched me do this before, you know that with the canola oil or vegetable oil or whatever your primary oil is, it doesn't get stiffer until you have more oil in. You can actually see it getting stiffer now that I have more oil in versus when it started. And now this thin stream is my olive oil container. I'm adding olive oil for flavor, but I don't want it to be 100% olive oil. And like other emulsions, once the eggs and the oil are emulsified, you can add quite a bit of oil, which is why I only use 2 yolks. And you can see, I think, how thick that is. I mean, look at how that mayonnaise is clinging to the wand. And when I knock it off, you can almost see it textured on the top there. It's a nice emulsion. I want to add some mint in there. Mint and peas go together like Laurel and Hardy or Astaire and Rogers. I'm dating myself, but they're really good together. It's just another piece of contrast. I've got that antiseptic quality to the mint that is gonna help soften the richness of some of this dish. We have this beautiful bowl of awesomeness just waiting for our peas and our pasta. And then we're gonna add some of that fantastic mayonnaise, and I'm just going to combine this. It's basically just ham and peas and pasta. We're gonna season this with salt and pepper, plate it up, garnish it with some toasted pine nuts, and we're gonna be good to go. This can be part of a bigger meal if you like. Nice appropriate portion for lunch, maybe a coursed lunch. And I'm just putting a sprinkle of toasted pine nuts. I put some pine nuts in a pan and just placed them in a 325-degree oven for about 15-20 minutes, kept an eye on them, got them nice and nutty brown. I've seasoned this with pepper. You forgot about our beautiful leeks, didn't you? And all I want to do is, I don't want to break these. I just want to pull them apart a little bit because I have enough here to garnish 2 of these plates. And there you have it. I absolutely adore this dish, and I think you're going to adore it too. Well, what's most important with anything is not how it looks, although I know this looks pretty darn beautiful. It's how it tastes. One of the best warm weather salads of any kind you can make. This one happens to have pasta, the sweet peas, the chewy saltiness of that cured ham. Use any kind of ham you want. The leeks, the citrus. This one, extraordinary.